Call to order the meeting, the budget meeting for the Village of Sandalwood Lake South Homeowners Association for Thursday, November the 29th, 2018. Start with roll call. Mary Lee Barnes.
Present.
Randall Anderson.
Present.
Joseph Costello.
Present.
Larry Rocco present. Michelle Murray.
Here.
Rebecca Basil.
Here.
Natalia Franklin.
Here.
Okay. David, we posted the meeting, sent out the notices and everything, and
Everything was,
done according to oil, okay?
and then some.
All right, okay, now I want to start off by saying that it's confusing enough with all the numbers that are going to be thrown around tonight. I want everybody to listen to Michelle when she's speaking. And any questions you have, write them down. Everybody will get their questions answered. No shouting out, no interfering with what Michelle's reporting. Because it's going to be, like I say, confusing enough to her, and all the confusion won't
I
help.
hope it's not confusing for her. But it can get confusing when everybody starts yelling.
Yes.
Are we gonna limit the time that we're allowing guests to speak, or are we allowing everyone?
Well, we may give them extra time at the end of the meeting because it is a budget meeting, and we're going to try to get through this as quickly as possible and have plenty of time for questions. All right, Michelle, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, in light of the time that's passed since the budget went out for the original meeting, I did reduce the monthly. Hi there, hey Nikki, you have to go to 4319 Grosvenor, because they double booked the room tonight, and they were kind enough. Hey Ellie. Oh, hi. Oh, Bridget. Oh my God. Okay.
We're awfully sorry.
So, but thank you.
Wrong
So, you blame it on us.
How are you? My dog Walker Paul.
Actually, it was your meeting and you all were kind enough to let us
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad we've done some good.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody. Good night.
If,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
this is for the board. I don't know if anybody.
Did you say
The
5319?
4319 Grosvenor.
Who lives there?
That I think is, maybe it's Barry's.
Cynthia Bus.
Maybe it's
Cynthia.
Cynthia. Maybe it's Cynthia.
Nikki, you got it. Come on, you can remember that.
5319.
4319. 4319.
Got it down?
Cynthia's place.
Okay.
got it? 4319. We're all going.
Did,
Hi.
Hi.
okay, and you're here for Stanford?
Sandalwood.
No, she's Sandalwood.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, have a seat, have a
My
seat.
team didn't come.
Okay. So, this is the same.
Yes, exactly.
All right, already we're getting out of
Okay, well,
control.
it's hard. Okay.
You're welcome.
Let's
Do I have everybody's attention now for a moment? Okay, I had sent out the other budget. It was like $358. That was the one you all got in the mail. Since then, new information allowed me to reduce the budget further, which I did, and then I sent an email to the board members, and the budget at that time ended up at $353.37. Okay, and that was probably the last email you got from me. If you don't have that one, I have a copy for you. This would be the most recent one. So if all the board members have a copy and any of the people present would like a copy, I've got,
Is this the one you passed on Tuesday?
yes.
Okay.
So if any of the rest of you want a copy, I've got a few extra copies there. Okay. So what I would like to do is, as soon as I pull up mine, no, it's less. The original one that I sent out in the mail was $358 something.
This says 36337.
Oh, that's the wrong one then. Here.
Well, these were just passed out to
Oh, sorry.
353.
Oh, you got a copy of a wrong one there. Okay, there you go.
Well, other people.
I made so many.
Other
Okay, which
people
ones?
got
What do
it.
you have?
The one that Larry gave us, which is the
This
363.
is, no,
363.
This is 353.
350.
It's 353. It's bleeding over.
Well, Larry, you handed out the.
We all have the right
It's
one?
not the wrong one, it's
Three,
just,
it's not.
It's the
It's
right
all
one.
just my printer, which is why I hate my
353,
printer, but. Okay.
Maybe 353.
So did everybody have one that says 353?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now
All
I
right.
do, yep, now I do.
Okay, so, all right, hold on one moment. I wish I had a projector for my laptop. This would make everything so much more easy. Okay, so you're looking at this budget that says 353. What I'm going to do, we're not going to pay attention right now to the number. So just take a pen and cross out that number that says 353. We're not going to pay any attention to that for now. We're going to go through line item by line item, and if you'll hold your questions till the end, I'll answer any of your questions, and also there are several. There's new information that I just got today and yesterday, and the board has, in one case, has to make a decision. And depending on that decision, the monthly amount could be reduced further. Okay, so this is for the board's consideration. All right, so if we look at the first line that says member assessments, all right, the amount there, and again, would change depending on the monthly assessment that we come up with. The amount for our purposes right now would be $2,222,019.67. Okay, that would, if the amount were $353.37. Okay, we're not worried about any late owner interest. We're not worried about income violation income or the rental income or any of that, because at this point, this does not come into play in this budget. That is not ever included in our budget. That is extra income coming from sources other than the membership fees. Okay, so we look at legal, coming down now to expenses. So we look at legal. Last year we had budgeted $10,000. To date, on the end of September, we had spent $20,000. And this is for litigation now, so we don't really have any control over that. It's something that, if we need to use an attorney for delinquencies or anything like that, we need to use that attorney. So they estimated was $27,000, and the variance there is $17,000. So considering that we went over budget last year, or this year I should say, but we don't know, what are we going to incur. We do know that we're going to have some of our legal expenses with regard to litigation paid, because some of the delinquencies are being paid, and then they'll pay the attorney's fees. So I put $20,000 in there, predicting that would be enough to get us through this year. And that same thought process basically is going to carry through this whole process, okay? POA assessments, they're staying the same, so there's no change in the amounts there. The accounting preparation, to us, no change, so we're leaving it the same. The legal collections, we had budgeted $50,000. We had $15,000 in expenses. We had, we actually spent $15,000 in change. We estimate that we'll have spent $20,000, so there's approximately $30,000 that we did not use that we had budgeted for. So as such, I just put us at $30,000, and again, because various cases get closed and settled and we get our money back from various sources, I think that $30,000 is appropriate. Then coming down to the General Association, we budgeted $41,000. We spent $16,000 and change. We estimate that we'll probably have spent $22,000 and change, which means we didn't spend about $18,000 and change. So I lowered that to $20,000. And again, one of my thoughts there to further reduce our expenses in those areas this coming year, should we all still be on the board, let's look at finding less expensive legal counsel. Let's really consider, okay, there are places out there. I mean, I know of one that, we pay about $3.50 an hour. I know there's others that charge $300, and that we might get better services. So there's always ways to save money there. Okay, insurance is a big one, and I'm going to come back to that at the end, okay? So please remind me. Postage, we budgeted $10,000. We spent about 13. It was anticipated that we would spend 18. Now again, that's just a projection. That doesn't mean that we are going to spend 18. But we do know that we went over, that we are over at this point, whether or not we spend that extra money or not. And we also know that postage rates have gone up. So I increased that to 15,000. And in the future, I think we could do better at thinking about what we're going to mail, when we're going to mail it, and how we can combine mailings. I think if we have a really well thought out plan, and David, this goes to you, as part of that whole process, to say at the beginning of the year, if we have a board workshop where we sit there and say, okay, what are we going to do this year? What do we plan on sending out? I mean, and this is for the extra things, because we do have a lot of mail that goes out, violations and all types of mail that has to go out on a daily basis. But I'm talking about board business that we could do a lot better at. So anyway, so as I was saying, so I upped that to 15. I increased that $5,000. Office supplies, we budgeted $10,000. We spent at the end of September $1,600. We project that we would have spent $2,100 by the end of the year. We're about $8,000 under budget, so I reduced that to $3,000. And again, another caveat there is that that's something that between office expenses and postage and all that, I think as a board we can do a better job of planning ahead, and even doing a little research into what are we spending and why, and how can we reduce those costs. And we've talked about this too. So I reduced that to $3,000. Licenses and fees, nothing you can do about that, and I don't think there's any anticipated increases there. Association management, we budgeted $125 at $884. To date, we spent $94. I shouldn't say to date, but at the end of September, we spent $94. We anticipate that we will have spent everything we budgeted, because basically we have we contracted with them at a certain price, and we just split it in 12 and pay it over the 12 months.
All right, but the proposed is not accurate. It's up to 130,000.
Right.
Unless they somehow miraculously agreed to not increase.
They are not.
They
I
are not
spoke
going
to
to
George, and
increase.
they're
George
not
told me right
increasing.
to my face last year. Told him right to my
Right.
face. Said he wouldn't
Right.
do it, and
Well,
they did.
Go ahead and tell them,
We got
Larry.
assurances, so.
Oh, okay, wait, we're getting over, because I only get to be the only one to
All right,
talk.
sorry.
Yay, yay me. Okay. They were going to increase their fees. They told us they wanted 3%, which was actually about $10,000. And Larry, basically, I told Larry that we were all going to mutiny if they did that. So Larry told that to George, making him understand that we had Joyce for 2 years, who we were not very happy with. We had Dee Dee, who we were very happy with, that is gone, and poor David now, he's got a tough act to follow. So we're going to see if he can fill her little heels. So thank you, Larry, for straightening that out with George. So we're good there, Randy. Okay. Bad debt. Now, last year I did not put bad debt in the budget. And I'll tell you, at the time, it was kind of the first time doing the budget. I was concerned that we wanted to keep everything at the 340 and we didn't want any increases. But what happens when we don't do that is we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot, because what happens is when people are not paying their fair share, like a lot of people are not paying their monthly fees, then everybody else kind of has to kick in to cover that cost. So this year, basically, by adding that in, it might increase a little bit, our fees, but basically protects us in the long run when when we end up losing money, it doesn't, we don't have to go back in to go after that money. That money is already there because it is our obligation. If someone is not paying, everybody has to kick in to make up that difference. So that is an item that is added in again and again. It offsets the year-end losses as well. So like this year, it'll look like we were over budget by about $30,000 or $40,000. That easily could have been the fact that we didn't have the bad debt in the budget last year. Interest and financing, that is what it costs us to pay our insurance and finance our insurance, which is a huge, big ticket item. Last year, the term was higher. This year, we've talked to both Terry Crawford and Jay, and they both said that we would get a better interest rate on that. So before, I think it was 8.75, and this year it would be 4.75
On the insurance?
on the insurance.
Well, I mean, what?
Because what happens is
interest, but it was an installment fee.
well, yeah, right, but they make you pay. You have to basically finance that. So if it's $380,000, all right, and the well, you know what? Can I get back to that?
Yeah.
Let me get back to that, Randy. Okay, so I stop switching gears, but we can talk about that when we get to insurance. Okay. So interest and financing. So that is basically going to stay the same. Coupons, mailings, that was $3,500. We spent $33 at this point. We anticipate that we'll spend $4,400, so we'd be over. I left it at 35, and I think that another thing we can pursue moving forward is going digital. And what was your name? I'm sorry.
Mine?
Yeah.
Chris.
Chris, I think you had said that last year.
Last year,
I mean, it's a good idea for those that can do it. You know, I mean, I wouldn't want it to be the only way because there are still a lot of people that,
Right.
are not able to do that. But I do think that if we did it primarily, we would save
Well, there's
some
also
money
auto
there.
debit, which a lot of people do.
Right, exactly.
So
There
that
are
is
other
another
ways
choice.
other than,
There's another
and even
choice.
honestly, for that matter, you don't necessarily have to have a book. I mean, you get,
Yeah.
you basically, this is how much you're going to pay every month. You got a car payment, you don't always get a book. So,
And auto debit is
Yeah, right.
easy
Can I just
and
ask one question?
secure.
David, could we know how many are on auto pay?
okay. Can we save that, Joe?
Okay.
Until
The last I heard, there
okay.
was more than
We're getting off track. Let's stay on
Let's just
track.
stick to the budget. Okay, Mary Lou? Stick to the budget. The website, $960, probably going to stay the same. The storage, $240. We went a little bit over because of the shredding of documents, which I think we should add a few more dollars in there. I didn't on this budget, but I would suggest that we do it. Just add a little bit to that to cover the $90 or whatever it was we ended up paying to have documents shredded. And I know a lot of people, like Natalia said, she'll go and she'll have them shredded and all that, but sometimes it's just not worth the
A lot of people have
the
shredded
hassle
at home.
and even the liability, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Involving that type of thing. So okay, now we're into maintenance, and a lot of these are very big ticket items. Building maintenance was $15,000. We spent $46,000. And anticipate spending $62,000, which put us $47,000 over. However, the maintenance building that we bought, a lot of the other things that we did came out of that line item. They were not expected purchases. So even though we were over budget, it doesn't mean that we spent too much. It just meant that we had things that we did not anticipate coming out of that line item. So I did increase it though to $30,000 because I know this year we were talking about cleaning the mansards and painting the railings. And I have no idea if that will cover the cost of the mansards and the painting, but I did want it, because I didn't have those figures, I did want to make sure at least we put extra money in there to account for those items. The maintenance, equipment maintenance and fuel, $4,000. We spent $1,132. We anticipate spending $1,500, which puts us about $2,400 under. So I decreased that to $2,000, but we might want to just up that to $3,000.
But we
To be
bought
on the
a
safe
new
side.
gator. We bought a new gator, so
Yeah, that didn't come out of there though. They didn't-
under equipment
No, the fuel
maintenance?
does.
No, the fuel does.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
and the reason I would upgrade it too is because the cost of fuel does fluctuate. So, maybe we don't need an extra, maybe we don't need the whole 4, but we could make it 3 perhaps.
Yeah, but hopefully the new gator doesn't.
Doesn't
Yeah, it doesn't-
require maintenance.
exactly,
Doesn't require
exactly,
maintenance,
exactly.
yeah, that's
Right,
what I'm hoping.
right.
Right.
The backflow preventers, that is something that is more or less that's a fixed expense, isn't it? Pretty much something we spend every year. So I left that at $5,000. The plumbing, maintenance and repair, we budgeted $60,000. We, at the end of September, we're at $20,000. We estimated we'd spend $27,000, so we're about $32,000 under budget. So I reduced that to $25,000 for a couple of reasons. Now this is the plumbing maintenance and repair. This isn't the irrigation. This is plumbing, correct? This is my, tell me if I'm wrong.
All right. All the
Okay,
main
okay.
breaks and.
So, right. So I figured
Buckeye.
that since we've done a lot of work in the meantime, I reduced that to 25, but I'm open to, if you think that if when we talk about it afterwards, if you think that this is something that we need to increase, based on your experiences, David, you have some input there, then I'm going to star that item and we will discuss that after. The building lights and repair, we put $12,000 in. We paid $36,000 to date. We anticipate that we'll have spent $49,000 by the end of the year, which puts us $37,000 over. And I was going to decrease that to $5,000 because the reason it was so high was that we improved all the lighting on all the buildings. We should be pretty much done, so we shouldn't have very many
Exactly.
expenses except for light bulbs
Exactly.
at the end of or for next
Are you
year.
accounting for all of the lights that still need to be done?
It should, yeah, by the end of this year, they should all be done. Correct?
Yes.
So, to my knowledge, anyway. So,
$5,000 in light bulbs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're
I mean,
LEDs, they shouldn't need them for a
Well, we
long,
should,
long time.
but
but,
you
have to
a
have
light gets
something there.
damaged or something like that. It shouldn't be a big thing. But it's a guesstimate. What are we going to spend? But knowing that we've already replaced all of them, the cost should be minimal.
And we should go out and check out different pricing on replacing them too.
Right. So,
Different companies.
right. So, all right, we got that. Fence repairs. This is another thing where, say we had 17,000. We spent about 1,800. We anticipate we'll spend 2,400. We're about 14,000 under. Now, in light of the fact that we're doing all these repairs to the fences and the painting and all that, my guess would be that what we need to fix next year would be minimal. However, so I put $5,000 in there. However, the question to ask is, the one thing that we haven't addressed are the gates. And the gates are having a lot of problems. Is $5,000 going to be enough to fix whatever, gates come up? I have no
Well,
idea.
the gates
So-
are being fixed now as well.
well, the not the hinges and all that kind of stuff, just the boards are being
It's
replaced.
mostly sagging. and they can be adjusted back up.
No, but on Mark's latest report, he didn't list any gate replacement.
Yeah, that's what, to my knowledge.
No gates.
Well, let's
Yeah,
star
he doesn't
that.
do the gate
Let's,
repair.
Oh, he doesn't do the gate
No.
repair.
He
Just
just,
rest-
he replaces slats.
Flats.
right, and
yes.
that's all Dave is doing too. He's
Yeah.
not doing any gate
If
repair.
gates need to be
Yeah,
repaired.
so-
we have,
Plus there's-
So that's a
reserves
question,
for
so
that,
I'm
too.
gonna star that, yeah, well, there are reserves, and that, we'll get to that too, so.
Right.
Let me star that, I starred the other, and we'll discuss those more in detail. But I reduced that to $5,000 anyway. Roof repairs, we had $25,000, to date we've spent $51,000. We anticipate spending $68,000, so that's over $43,000 over. I'd like to put that at $50,000 this year to address those mounting roof repairs. And then the caveat there is that I also believe that we should be funding that reserve fund every year for 5 years. So that,
Keep in mind, we have one roof on 68th Way that they're recommending the whole thing be replaced,
okay,
so.
okay. Which, do we know how
Do we
much
have a
that
number?
is?
Do you remember what building that was, David?
That was building 78, 63.
That's a, we'll get back to it,
Yeah.
but if we have I'm gonna star that too, and we'll talk about that one. Hard pressure cleaning hard surfaces, that was all the sidewalks and the parking lots, we budgeted $20,000, we spent 17. That 23 is a projection, but we're already done, so it's gonna stay at 17. Leaving us with $3,000 more, and I just budgeted again, I left that the same and budgeted the $20,000 to account for any increase that we might have. The concrete repairs, we budgeted $15,000, to date $41,065 or $4,165. We anticipate we'll have spent $5,553, which leaves us $9,000 under. However, a lot of our roof repair, or a lot of that concrete repair, came out of our reserves. So there was a huge, like 50 some odd $1,000. We paid for it out of our reserve accounts as was appropriate. And moving forward, we also still have about $370,000 worth of repairs that were noted in some of our reports. So I upped the amount to $35,000, and we have $13,000 still in reserves, plus this 50 gives us 63, which might get us through next year. And then also wanted to put $50K in the reserve budget for over the next 5 years, which would address any continuing problem that we may have.
Quick question, is concrete repair line item 3003 in the reserves, paving, resurfacing?
Probably, yes.
Okay, just trying to
Okay,
match
we'll
them up.
get there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
we'll
trying to
get
match
there.
them up. Okay.
And your budgets that I gave you, do they have my little notes on the side?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Okay, so, and then we have the drainage and the culvert repairs. I only put $10,000 in there. It's a new line item. They were talking about, over $480,000 of drainage issues if all of the culverts, drain pipes were to collapse. It's a big thing that we're going to really all need to talk about and study hard on before we make any decisions. So I just left the $10,000 in there that would cover the cost of the company that's going to come in with their little scope and go in there and tell us what we're looking at. And that's all I put in there. And I did not put any money in the reserves for that. So that's another thing that the board needs to discuss. Ground maintenance, we have $177,000. we've spent 132. This is another one of those items where we pay, regular installments. So we'll probably have spent that 177 by the end of the year. I upped that to 200,000 because we get so many complaints about the grass and this isn't going the way we want it or whatever. If possible, we put a little extra money in the budget. Maybe we try getting a better company and see if anybody is happier. So I added about $25,000. Whether that'll do it or not, I don't know. But we can change that as well. We can up it. We can decrease it.
That line item just simply encompasses
Just the
landscaping company.
yes.
Just to cut above what they do.
Then landscape replacement. Now we do have about $166,000 in reserves for landscape for trees and infrastructure, trees/infrastructure, which means any of the damage that those trees cause to the pipes and the plumbing and all that could come out of that reserve account. So I put $30,000. We had $30,000 in there last year. To date, we spent 22. We probably will have spent all that money by the end of the year. I reduced it to 20,000 only because I think this year we will be making sure we use the money in reserves to address those replacements. And I'm not sure if we did last year or if we have done that, and that's something I haven't gotten a chance to do with you, which a lot of that money, that's why like when you look at this year's financial statement at the year end, you're going to see, oh wow, they spent $40,000 more than they said they were going to spend. Well, I would suggest that when you look at that, you understand that a lot of the stuff that we paid for out of our operating account really should have come out of reserves. And it could have. I mean, it's still our money one way or another. And we have the money, which is another good thing. But it could have been paid for out of reserves, and then our budget would have looked like, wow, she's just like a financial genius. She made it all work just perfectly. So it's a landscaping replacement. The irrigation maintenance contract, we budgeted $12,000. We spent $9,000. We'll probably have spent, if we keep spending the way we've been spending, we'll have spent $14,000. Which puts us a $2,500 over. I brought that up to 15 again because hard to say, the cost of everything goes up, and I know we're happy. At least I thought we were happy with our irrigation person.
With Image,
and I don't know if his prices will go up or whatever, but if he does, we want to keep him. So I just I upped that to 15 from 12. Irrigation parts, we budgeted 30,000. We spent 43 to date. If we keep going the same vein, we'll have spent 58,000, putting us 28,000 over. This coming year, I budgeted 25,000, which is $5,000 less. But the assumption is that we have done so much work in the past. A lot of the problems that we have should be addressed. And I also would like to suggest that we really improve oversight in that area. Because I know a lot of people had questions. So that's something else we'll have to talk about. But in my head, I thought that we're not going to incur the same kind of expenses that we incurred in 18. So I reduced that slightly. Then the tree pruning, it was 35 last year. We probably will stick to that. We spent 28 to the end of September, which puts us about $3,000 under. And I left it at, I reduced it to 35. And then again, suggest that if it comes out to any of the ficus removal, that comes out of the trees and infrastructure reserves. So I think we're good there. Fire hydrant inspection, that doesn't change. Electric was 33,000. We'll probably come under, very close to that, maybe 30. I increased that again to 35, anticipating, usage increases or cost increases. Water and sewer, this is huge. And this is like the biggest ticket item in our budget. And that's why I increased the budget accordingly, because we paid $684,000. We budgeted $684,000 last year. By the time this year is over, we'll have spent well over $700,000. And I can't even anticipate, but we'll be about $20,000 over, and it's not going to get any cheaper. In 2017, when we were paying $340, we were paying, I think it was $91 a month per unit per month for water.
It was over 100.
Was it what I'm going off? I know right now it's $700,000.
Dissected those bills.
Yeah, I've got it written down here someplace. But the point is that we didn't increase the budget for these 2 years, and the water has gone up $12 and change. So we can't not address and pass those costs on to the residents. That's just, again, we're shooting ourselves in the foot by doing that.
We also need some oversight on
Right.
I think
people watering
On property.
on property.
Yeah, we've talked about putting locks on the outside spigots, and I think that we should form a committee that talks to the city and that really works on getting a handle on this. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it could be addressed, but again, that's a subject for another time. But definitely something needs to be done, because a lot of people, I doubt very much I use $112 worth of water every month.
Well, it's 133 per unit at 700,000.
All right, well, it'll be up there too. It'll keep going up. So anyway, I doubt very much, but there are some people that might use $200 worth. I don't know.
Well,
But
it
they're,
depends if you've got 4 people living
Well,
in a unit.
right. So the thing is that there's got to be some way to make this, because when people complain about the maintenance, when they realize that a third of it is water, it's a whole different thing. If we didn't have that water, if everybody paid their own water bill, our maintenance probably be $240 a month.
And that's what most communities are doing.
Yeah.
In
So
Palm Beach County.
yeah.
They
So
pay their own water bill.
yeah, I think it's worthwhile to form a committee to investigate what that would cost.
Do we know that our rates from the West Palm Beach Water Authority, how it's promulgated, how they develop it?
Yes. It's based on,
Because if anything in West Palm Beach, I gotta have to be suspect about it. It's not-
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. We're almost done. We're in the home stretch, but definitely, Joe, we need to talk about
it's
this.
a tiered charge.
At another time.
First X amount of
Okay.
gallons, then it's
Trash,
one price,
trash,
and it keeps going up.
Trash and recycling, $70,000. We budgeted. We spent 38 to date. Now this is the additional pickup from the people dumping stuff on the side of the dumpster and junk. Right.
So
Well-
you've included in that what we paid got junk?
That's all. That's got junk and all that
Okay,
stuff. So
okay.
last year we budgeted $70,000. Am I wrong?
Trash and
Trash and
recycling.
recycling is for the dumpsters and the recycling.
That's what I
Yeah,
The
that's
dumpster cleanup
Okay.
fees is
Yeah.
what,
right. It's got junk.
yeah.
Trash and recycling it comes on the water bill. It's that one big account that's
That's-
always much.
Okay,
more.
Waste management.
then I've got a question, only because we spent last year. I think we spent about what, $30,000 or $40,000
It
to
was
got
like-
junk,
Oh.
and so I'm not sure if maybe some of that stuff was coming out of the wrong line item.
Ah.
I've been putting it on.
Okay,
Well, trash and
Okay,
recycling.
so-
Trash and recycling last year was about $54,000, and that comes on
Okay.
the invoices from the city for the water and sewer.
Yeah.
But it's attached to one particular account. That's why that one account
okay.
is so
I'm
big.
sorry. I'm not even reading my notes here. No, you're right. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. This is, yeah, I upped it, we budgeted 70.
Right.
You're right, we budgeted 70, we spent 38, we'll probably have spent that 50,000. And I brought it down to 40. And I have in my notes, how are we billed for it per unit, per dumpster, okay. So, I apologize, Dave, I was wrong.
That's why I was saying to you the other, one night saying, we get double billed for
Right,
trash pickup.
right.
We get charged, from the
Right.
city for
Right.
picking up our trash,
Right.
and then you get your
Yeah.
tax bill,
Yeah.
and you're being charged on your non-ad
So
valorem
that's
taxes
another thing,
for it as well.
that we
I know.
really need to look at.
Well, also,
Um,
through the end of October, we're at 58,439.
Right,
Because you're working on September, I've got October's financials here.
okay,
So it's up to
okay,
58,439.
so maybe we better leave that at 70 then,
I'm thinking you should,
okay,
because you've got November and December.
okay, so
For
we're
what?
gonna, okay.
Trash and recycling.
Okay.
Because I
Okay.
have the October 31st financials here,
Okay.
and we're already at 58.
All right, so I'm
Trash
gonna up
and recycling,
that.
that really,
That's
Okay.
Florida, that's
We're
waste
almost
management.
there, we're gonna get to the
Right.
fun part pretty
So
soon.
we'll leave it at 70.
Alright, so I'm gonna move it back up to 70.
Huh?
Okay,
Should
the dumpster cleanups, it was at
Sure, I think
18,
how
we
many
spent
dumpsters we got.
13. We could get to that 18 depending on, it's an arbitrary thing, depending on how well people behave. But I will say, I put it down to 15, but we have been doing a lot better job of getting people to pay their share when they dump stuff, and we find out who it is. Matter of fact, 2 people in my neighborhood are moving out tonight. I guarantee you that dumpster will be full tomorrow, and there'll be crap all over the side. And I won't know which people it was.
Bill
That's
them
the hard
both.
So,
part, finding out.
yeah.
who does
Split it in half and bill them both.
Yeah. So, okay, so dumpster cleanup fees, the groundwater permit, that stays the same. All right, coming down to the fence, we have we will have 181,000 anticipated in our fence reserves. I wanted to keep putting, before it was 75,000, I wanted to bring it down to 50,000 and do that so that 7 years or whatever, we'll be able to repair, replace, paint again or whatever. It might not cover everything, but we'll have $250,000 there to take a bite out of it. The painting of the parking lot, it was, I put painting and parking. We painted the parking stops and did all that in 2018. We have $42,000 in reserves, so I just put that at $5,000, slowly build that. Paving and resurfacing, we only have $13,000 in reserves for that because a big chunk of that came out of our account last year or this year. So I left that at $50,000, and again, hoping that we could do that for the next 5 years. The roof reserves, we have $134,000 in there. I wanted to continue funding that at $50,000 because we are going to have a lot of problems. The trees, infrastructure, it's at 166. I only put in reserves. I put 5,000 in there again because we could start using some of those funds to do some of the work that needs to be done. The easement, I only put 500 in there because I frankly have absolutely no idea what easement remediation means, and I haven't had an opportunity to check it out. So we only have $608 or $682 in there, but doesn't seem like we've ever come up with too many.
I think that was at one time used for when they redid the walking path.
Right.
Because that's considered an
Oh,
easement.
okay, okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, which is not even our property.
No. And we also cut the lawn, which is not our property.
Right.
Well, it's our common ground.
Right.
But I mean,
No,
as far
no,
as
the easement.
No,
To
the
the
easement
lake.
isn't,
Right,
yeah.
right. Well, if we left it to them, it's
Yeah.
terrible. Right.
A forest back there.
Okay, so then maintenance building replacement, we've got $20,000 there. in reserves already, I just added 500 to it for when we decide to replace the maintenance building, which we already did. Parking stops, I only put 500 in there. Paint and repair the building, we've got $10,000 in there. I put another 5 in there. Because we also put money in the operating account to address those things, so I think that that should be sufficient. Irrigation, we've got 36,000. I put 25 in there for the reserves this year, because I think that we do need to anticipate that at some point, you're gonna have some major repairs.
Every year, every year
yeah,
there's going to be irrigation repair.
So, and then sod replacement, we have 28,000. Again, I wanted to beef that up for the continuing year. So that is basically going through it line item by line item. Now, and again, I've said at the beginning of this, we're not going to look at the numbers, okay? So we're still not going to look at the numbers, but now we're going to have fun. You all right? You want some water? Okay. Okay. So what I have, I'm looking right now at an Excel spreadsheet. Would you like to be a man away?
Okay. As long as I'm not joking you that.
Boy, it's hot in here, isn't it? I mean, I have a wool sweater on.
Open the door for a minute.
The door?
Yeah, just open the door, let it cool off a little.
Well, you did turn the air on.
It's never clicked on that I've been sitting here.
No, if you said 74.
It says 74.
How are you gonna hold it with that little lightweight? Oh, it's just.
There's-
Oh, that, I didn't see that. I thought you were, I was like, I thought you were talking about,
That's not there somewhere.
that's not gonna hold that.
I'm gonna write.
Lovely.
This is,
There we go.
What about coupons, coupon books? We
are-
increased from 2017, we increased for, but can we?
well, what we're gonna do, as we suggested, I would leave the line item. Well, before we do this, you have questions, why don't we go ahead and you can ask your questions. She's asking about the coupon books. As I said, I would like to leave it how it is, but moving forward, say, okay, how can we reduce that cost? So hopefully we leave the money in there and we end up not spending that much, but it's still going to be a process.
Why will the time put on next? Because we already talked when we discussed last budget for 2017. We talk about, okay, we will leave it for next year. And
Well, do
why
you
we
want
not
to take?
decide
Why
right
don't?
now?
Well, we can't. I mean, right now, you want to decide right now to cut the budget for that. We put it for any. We put it anywhere you want to put it.
Well, I do think that if at the annual meeting in January, either the mailing that's done for that would put in, we're considering eliminating coupon books, these would be what you're offered, please let us know the night of the meeting. And then we'd have some kind of a vote that would clue us in if we could eliminate it.
So, you know what?
Everybody shows up to the annual.
Well, no, but
Right.
it'll be a mailing.
Well, you know what I
so
think?
they'll have it
I
in
think
the
those are
mail.
great suggestions, and what I would like to say is that you and Natalia can work on pulling it all together, because you talk a lot about, well, we talked about this before, and about, well, you know what? Maybe I didn't do anything, but I don't see anybody else doing those things
Well,
either.
actually,
You're
the
a board
property
member.
management company could
But
help
we
us.
have made
Well,
it
I mean, you work with David to
My
get that set
suggestion
up.
is you take it out of the property management hands and find a different printing company that's gonna do it for less.
Amen, brother.
I mean, that's,
Oh, yeah.
because they're
Oh,
tacking on,
absolutely.
they
Well,
tack, I
absolutely.
can sit here and go over a
Absolutely.
lot of line
Okay.
items that they
Okay.
tack on, which is
There's
part of
that's
my.
charge.
And you know what? And you're absolutely right. And that is one of the things that I said. We need more oversight. We need a lot of things, but we're not going to solve any of that stuff at this meeting. So tonight we're going to just talk about the budget. We're gonna talk about, we can come in, I could put it at $500, and then, if we spend $3,500, we'll just be $3,000 over.
You just make it
But-
copies and send people.
Well,
But I'm
cut
saying,
it in
what my
half,
point-
Cut it in half, make it $17.50
I'll make
or
it whatever you
something.
want, okay.
Cut it in
I'm gonna
half,
make it
and let's
$17.50.
Why? I don't understand.
Are you guys gonna do
Because-
that by January? Are you gonna do
Yeah,
that
I mean,
by
that's
the
my
April
point.
meeting? When we
That's my
have to have?
point. The budget, let me say
can't
this.
do that.
And I'm gonna say this again, I said it last year. The budget is a guide. The budget is a guide. That's all it is. In some instances, we know exactly how much we're spending on fixed items, and some items we're guessing. I could put $500 in there, and I might spend nothing on that line item, or I might spend $10,000 on that line item. It doesn't really affect anything. It's just a way for us to gauge what we're going to do with our money. It's like when you have you have a limited income. That's how you decide. I'm going to spend this much on food and this much on gas and this money. This is the same thing, just on a grander scale. So it really, literally, it doesn't matter what number I put in there.
Understand, but we will increase on this item for trash and recycling on $30,000. It means our monthly fee will be pretty up, because if we add another $30,000.
Well, okay, well, hold your thought, okay? Because like I said, we're going to play with these numbers, and you're going to see how the numbers change, and that's why I got Becky doing that.
Now, David, have you given Michelle any information regarding what we're charging to homeowners to Hello Junk?
For Hello Junk, no, we haven't talked about it.
We need
Right.
to get a number on that.
Yeah, well, I've got
Right.
the number up.
And that would help offset our costs,
Right.
which and I do have to say I think we've done a good job with getting some of the homeowners to pay their fair share. I told David the other day, I'm sorry, I think not only should you charge them for having the stuff taken away, I think they need to be fined. I'd like to put a sign up there saying people caught dumping will be charged $500. End of story. If you put a chair out there, or you put a sofa out there,
Couple $100 plus
it'll
cost.
keep them.
Plus
It'll
cost.
keep them, from doing it.
Junk
Think
around
twice
dumpster.
before you
We need
It's
to
not
decide,
every
yeah.
thing that is dumped is coming from a resident. We have people
Right,
that
right.
drive in here from other
Right,
communities.
right.
Well,
Right.
well, it's
But we have to see who it is. I mean,
I get that, but
right.
I mean,
No, I agree.
what you're saying,
Right.
like, okay, you want to punish the people that live there, but not all of the people that are dumping.
But the
You
ones
can
Well,
only find, you can only
we
find the
only-
people
who
you
you
catch.
can.
Yeah, we can't do any more than that.
Yeah.
Well, cameras would help that too.
Yeah,
We
right,
need to get our
right,
cameras,
right.
more cameras up and
Another
up.
question, can I ask you about irrigation part? Did somebody control what kind irrigation part? We spend a lot of on irrigation.
That's-
Plus irrigation part, $58,000.
Right.
It's tremendous amount of
And
money.
I understand what you're saying,
Do
but
we have
again, I tell you,
any, somebody
this is-
controlled it?
this is why,
Yeah.
we're just going to talk about what things cost right now and projections. We can't
But they
solve
charge us
a lot of
separately.
these problems at this meeting.
Okay.
All right? But again, make note of these things, and you as a board member, you can help investigate those things too. It's a lot of times people look at, they look at this end of the table like, well, we said this, but nobody's done anything. Well, you're somebody, I'm somebody. I got my hands full. So,
But if you're not home all day, then the chances are you're not going to be very helpful finding people dumping at the dumpster.
no, I'm not talking about dumping at the dumpster.
Oh, I
Lynn.
thought
I'm
that was
talking
something
about,
we were
I'm
talking
talking about everything in general.
Yeah.
Everybody's got
thought we were on
it
dumpsters.
right,
Sorry,
and
thought we were on
everyone's got a
dumpsters.
complaint. But nobody comes up and says,
No,
here's
we're
a
not
solution.
complaining.
Here's a solution. But I'm just saying, here's a problem. Here's a solution.
We just discussed, and it's not complaining, you did a great job.
No. But I understand what I'm saying, that oft times, when you notice there's a problem, come up with a solution and offer to help. Because, we're a small group. Out of 524 owners, these are the people that care.
That care.
So, when I've gotten to the point where people come up to me on the street and start complaining, it's like, well, come to a meeting, complain there because I'm off today. Okay, anyway, back to subject. Any other comments about a specific line item, and if you think that it should be higher or lower?
Yeah.
Are we opening up the floor?
Can I say something? Well, one thing. I purchased this couple years ago a high efficiency washer. this is stupid high efficiency washer used 6 times more water that I use with a regular machine.
That's
Believe me, because to rinse all this soap, I need rinse over and over and over. And it's and I put on bulk cycle,
So
and
that's okay,
I see inside because I have glass there. I see that
Okay,
it's
that's
unbelievable.
something. I know, but we're not,
All right, listen,
let's
listen.
go back, let's get back on track. Budget.
We're here to work the budget, not discuss our washing machines or what we're gonna change.
We can't,
In the
we
future.
can't change
I'd like to ask
those
a
problems.
question then.
So we'll go ahead. May Pam ask a question?
Yes.
Go ahead, Pam.
Thank you. When you were talking about irrigation parts and all of that, have you spoken to Image and asked them what they project to be
I have.
coming up and?
I have not. I
I-
have not.
I've been working with Image, I've only been there 2 months, so I'm getting in with them.
Oh, that's no.
I see their invoices, I give them the work orders, I see their invoices. I can't be on the property watching everything they do.
No.
But the work they describe that they do and the parts that they are asking or stating that they use match up to the work that they.
Well, no, that's not what I'm questioning.
No, I know
They
what you're saying.
they can't anticipate a 40-year-old irrigation system.
Well,
I'll
for-
tell you right now, just a quick FP&L cut the lines to the wires to 2 zones over by building 66. I'm trying to get a hold of them, put a claim into them to get that paid for,
Yeah.
to have them fix it. We're gonna have to pay Image for it first. They've gotta dig up
Right.
what
Right.
FP&L dug up to find it, so they can get those zones working again. So 66 Way is gonna have some zones that aren't
Right.
working right now.
Right.
Well, I understand things that are not expected,
Right.
but I'm sure Image has an idea of what needs to be done.
Projected.
Well,
Yeah.
well, right. Well, let's just say I did not go to everybody, all the different vendors and other than asking, are there anticipated, increases in your fees or whatever. So no, I did not do any of that. I based my information on the projections, on what we thought we were going to spend, what we actually spent, and what was projected to
No,
be
I
spent.
understand that.
So no, I didn't. But again, in lieu of that, that's why I tried to say, we spent a lot of money in 2018. There was a lot of work done, a lot of
Yeah, but a lot of that work was done by a better,
No, I thought
a cut above. Yes.
Right.
The majority of the expenses were from a cut above.
Well, that's
But
why
I-
a cut above isn't here, because they did very little with our irrigation. They may have
No,
said
I
they did, but
understand
they
that,
didn't
but
do
we
it.
But
still
well, let me
paid
say,
for it,
based
and
on
we-
a conversation I had with Dee Dee, based on conversations I had with Dee Dee before she left, they've been doing a really good job and have been really just taking care of.
Your image.
Image.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
Everything
my
else.
point is,
Yes.
because we've spent so much money with
Accountable.
a cut above,
Doing
I mix it
irrigation.
up with a hairdresser, I call a better cut. That's why.
But this year, you're right, the
Okay,
first
go
half
ahead.
of
So
this year.
because we
Hear what she
spent,
has to say.
because we spent
Please.
Please, let me finish.
go ahead.
All I'm trying to say is, they have to have an idea. Image has been with, previous to your coming here, Image was our irrigation company for 20 years.
Right.
So they have to have an idea of what's, and they know a cut above. Damon and Michael work together
Right, for years.
for years.
Right.
So they know, they communicate. As a matter of fact, Damon would call Michael at
Right.
Image and say,
Right.
hey, I need some help. Can you direct me? Because
Right.
you were the
Right.
guy who was
Right.
here for 20
Right.
years.
Right.
So all I'm saying
Right.
is,
Yes.
when you're ready, I believe, or you, call him and say, hey,
Right.
you know what
Right.
needs to be done.
Right.
What's the next thing?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's like, I know he can't predict
Right. Well, he can't predict.
emergencies and things like that.
I feel that with what we've budgeted and the amount that we have in reserve, that we should be in good shape as far as, and I feel that, the only thing we can try to do is be realistic. So that's why, I mean, I could talk to him, but I can't talk to him before this thing needs to be approved. You know what I mean?
I
So,
get that.
yeah.
I mean, I've been
Yeah,
up to
and
enough
it's-
of these budget meetings to
Right,
understand.
but I'm just
I'm
telling you
getting it.
what you're.
And it's
what I'm
no, it's no
also-
big deal because we're gonna, this is a guesstimate and we gotta get it done.
Yeah, okay.
And I think Michelle is on the right track. She's,
I'm not
you know.
saying she isn't.
No,
I'm
I
just
understand what she's saying, I'm just,
Yeah.
I understand,
And I know in the
and
past
we
we've
will,
done that.
and we will. You know, we'll put it this way, I might not, but David
Yes,
will.
Okay, I'm not
Yeah.
saying you
No,
have
no,
to
no,
be
no,
responsible.
exactly.
It's not directed
Right,
at you.
no, I know, that's what I'm saying, I said,
All
I
right.
might not do
The
it,
thing, and
but
also,
David.
in years
Okay.
past, we
Okay.
have actually contacted the water company
Right.
Well,
and asked them, what do you see, projection of a raise? They know by now, because they've also done their budget.
that's right.
So,
Right, well, that's why I said, moving forward, I'd
I'd
love there to be I'd love there to be a committee, somebody that can, look into some of this stuff. Maybe we could even find a way to reduce our water consumption somehow. But that would be part of it, Pam, all of this. There's just no time to do all of this with one person.
Well, and just getting back to the fact that we used to have committees, and we used to have way captains, but we used to have other people than the 7 members of the board helping out.
Well, that would be great, because
And
it would be
that's
good
what- no,
information
but I
to
think
have.
we need to
can't
reach out
anticipate
to
it.
them. I think
Yeah.
we need to reach out to a Pam, to Maria, to this nice gentleman, to you, to see if you've got a couple hours a week for us that you could walk
okay,
through.
let's move on. to
But I
other
mean, that's,
things.
Okay,
we
wait a
need to
sec.
reach
Okay.
out for help.
So,
We need to reach out
Joe,
for
you
help.
had a question earlier?
Yeah, I had a question in regards to the coupon bucks, but I think we're probably all aware of that. We've probably got an option there to save on coupon books for the people that are paying auto pay, and we ought to know who they are. And if we do, we don't mail coupon books.
Right.
We do, they're in the annual.
No, but he's saying we don't do
Well,
it.
I'm sorry,
Well-
every month when you get your financials,
Okay.
Okay.
it tells you which one are the accounts that come out
Okay.
automatically.
No, I'm talking about the individuals who we get
That's what I'm
sent
talking about.
Right.
coupon books.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I
well, if
Okay.
we know who
I
they
do
are,
it.
Well, let's,
if we know who
Well,
they
we know
are,
what they are.
then we
Okay.
don't.
It's Cam's
Let me-
house.
Okay.
I pay online every month. They know I pay online. Why do I get a coupon?
I paid online
That's
for
what
the
Joe
last
said.
15 friggin' years.
Okay.
I know that I don't need a coupon book. I get it, I throw it in the
That's
garbage.
something that CAMS can probably.
right, and we
May
can
I,
look.
may
us a
I,
better
may I
idea.
add a comment
Wait a
from
minute,
last
wait a
year?
minute. Can
Just
we
quickly?
not talk about the coupon books right now? Because I'm gonna tell you something. We gotta talk about insurance, and this
Well,
is
that
gonna
was
be
my
a
question.
this is gonna be a big thing. So, the coupon books, let's see, we pay $3 and whatever.
Well, David's making
But-
notes. He'll take care
You
of it.
did
So
open the
let's-
floor
let's-
to
Let's
everyone.
move on.
No, I know, I realize, but we're getting off
There is
track.
one
We're
more
getting
thing
off
I
track.
want to bring up.
I didn't know we had to be.
We have painted all of the parking heads in the parking lot. We have not addressed painting lines.
We did paint lines except for the
I
ones
don't
that
know where
were,
you painted, 'cause
Well, no, but then when they power washed, the lines went away.
my
Mine
part is
did.
almost
Mine
devoid
did.
of lines. I
Painted
mean,
after the power wash.
Well, but
The
not,
company we got was.
He only did
Sabine
one
Theory,
coat.
okay,
and they should have
okay.
got that.
Can we
that's not just an
address
aside.
that, David? Okay,
So is this the bottom line on the?
Edward
Mine
can
still
do that.
look great. I
Edward,
don't
that
know
could be
what-
Edward's job.
I hope so.
Got it anymore.
Did you hear about?
Okay.
$100,000
Painting the
settlement?
lines?
okay, let's go back to this, okay. First of all, the insurance. It's one of the biggest ticket items we have. $380,000 was budgeted last year. And we'll probably have spent at least that much by the time the year is out. We've gotten 2 different quotes this year, and it looks like it's going to decrease. The question is how much it's going to decrease. And I don't know if it's appropriate to do it at this meeting, but I think we need to make a vote on what way we're going to go, and with whom, because we have to by tomorrow have, and this was the same way last year, it was just like the day after the budget meeting, Terry's there with his, okay, sign here, and last year he had no competition. This year the market's opened up, so we
I
have.
think we all know what we want to do. We don't
Right.
just-
But I just want to explain one thing. And I've been on the phone for the last couple days with the appraiser, with Terry, with Jay, and just doing like some research myself. And thank you, David, for sending all that information. The bottom line, it comes down to, where'd it go? We have two different prices, all right? The difference in the price that Terry gave us comes in at about $340,000, which is less than last year. The price that Jay gave us is about $301,000. So there's about 30.
Who was the guy that was here? That was
That
Jay.
was
Shane Marcus.
Yeah, I've been talking to so many different people, I can't remember who's who. Okay, however,
Hard sell.
right.
Because Terry was our old.
Terry Crawford is
Been
our,
with us
our
forever.
former agent.
Right.
Forever.
Jay is the new guy that, and he gave us some very good information and opened our eyes to a couple things that I wasn't aware of. And again, I haven't ever done this insurance contract before. You know, some of you have been on the boards forever, so maybe you know more about it. But this is the bottom line is Terry's policy, because we had a new appraisal done. He looked at our documents, and in our documents, it basically said we have to insure the insides, the cabinets, the appliances, the flooring, the electrical.
That's if it was
The-
original equipment.
Right. And it does say original equipment.
Which most
So
of it
my
is.
argument to them was, well, number one, nobody has original equipment. And I'm looking at these estimates that you're putting in there that's increasing the value of our building. And, there's no way that it's going to cost $17,000 to put down vinyl and carpet.
Which company is this?
Vinyl isn't
This
even
is
made
this
anymore.
is from the
Citizen.
this is the appraiser. We had to do another appraisal, and I would like to see if we could find the old one.
I can't.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
That was
I wonder-
over 10 years ago.
I wonder who did it. Anybody have any idea? You remember who did an appraisal 10 years ago, Mary Lou?
2000.
Come on, you probably got the original paperwork.
2007.
Can this guy fix?
No,
what
we never
he-
got copies
New
of those.
guy.
No, we never
who is-
got copies.
Were they filed with
No.
any municipality or any local
So-
government?
So this is the
Not
this
our
is the,
appraisals.
this is the
Not
thing.
needed.
This is the thing. It's in our documents.
Right.
He said what a lot of homeowners are doing, and I asked him. I said, why can't you just change the number? Because the software that they uses the software that they use uses the what builder
National
level
average.
stuff would be.
Yeah,
it's
national
not
average.
high end stuff,
Right.
but it's probably not low end stuff. It's builder grade. So anyway, so he said, these are the numbers, and that's basically what it's going to be. Now we're not obligated to insure the buildings for that amount, but if
Well,
that building gets knocked down, right? But let me finish. We're not obligated, but if somebody contested it and that building got knocked down, we'd be in deep trouble. Like I said, we'd have, if we insured it for less and something that building, we'd be on the hook for the difference. However, what he said a lot of associations are doing is this, because nobody does that anymore. And for why it's in our documents and not in anybody else's, I don't understand.
They've
But-
updated
But
theirs
he
and we
said
haven't.
we can have him reassess it's just like an upgrade to his original appraisal. And then we, as a board, make a motion that we are going to try to change our amendments accordingly. And because a lot of associations, he said, have done this. Sometimes they're able
Yeah.
to reduce the rates even while it's pending. It's not a given that he can do this, but he said that it's something that we could try. Because the statutes basically, he said you would basically move from the way it's written now to say that you're going to abide by chapter 718,
720,
or it's
whatever.
actually 718, it's actually a
Yeah.
condo
Yeah.
statute that just says, hey, you put in the walls and you put in but you don't put in the cabinets, you don't put in light fixtures, you put in the air conditioning, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the bottom line is this, that Terry is coming in at 340 for the 785 a building, which is what the appraiser, that's his figure, that we need to, help me here, so my mind's going
Update.
black. Thank you, that we need to make sure we're insured for that amount. The reason that Jay's is low is because he has only insured the buildings for $670,000, which is $115,000 less than account. Because again, what's it really going to cost if the building is leveled to put in vinyl and carpet?
So when he gave that quote, that's based on, it's not based on the appraised value?
Terry's is based on
No,
the
I'm
appraised
saying
value.
Jay's.
Jay's is based on
Thinking that we were gonna change
What-
and that
right,
the
exactly.
value was gonna be
Right,
less.
right,
So that
right.
quote is
Can
based
we
on
change?
Right,
a
right.
lesser appraisal.
right. Yeah, that's unchecking the box. It says appliances and this and this and this and that.
Can we do
And-
it?
But
We can do it. We can do it.
It's a risk.
But it's
it's
yeah,
very
it's
risky,
risky.
very risky.
It's risky. So
Yeah, because our
I'm trying to get a
declaration
handle on
clearly
what you're-
states
what
we
we're
have to.
proposing. Are we
So
saying
we
that-
amend our documents, it's basically, we amend our
have to.
if
documents.
we amend our, we would
If we
have
get
to.
this,
based on
if
that.
everybody
Yes.
passes what we sent out in the mail, then we'll be able to do it
At an annual-
at an annual meeting with a quorum of the people that are there, and that would make it easy. But we first have to get this passed.
What are we looking to do?
change the
wording,
language in
Change the
the,
language, I understand, but what is that language change supposed to entail?
well, basically, it
Removing
would-
interior contents.
So you're gonna say the interior then becomes a homeowner's responsibility?
Correct.
Correct.
well, but not
Including-
the whole interior. No, not the whole interior.
Just to the
It's
drywall.
going to be compliant with the condo rules, which basically says you make the interior whole. All right, but no cabinets, no wall coverings, no
No
appliances,
appliances,
no
no
you
flooring.
get the light switch, but you don't get the fixtures, all of that kind of stuff, which greatly reduces the cost.
I realize that, but I also think we got a problem.
Right.
You have a fiduciary responsibility of homeowners who haven't made changes to their bathroom appliances, for example. And if a wall is damaged by a roof filling up with water and caving in, which has happened
Well-
to a number of units in this development, okay? That bathroom repair has to be made, brought back to original.
Unless
Well, if
we
it's
change
our
it.
fault, no,
You
this
can't
is two different
change it
things.
post facto. You've
Wait.
got to have these people
We're
grandfathered
talking
in.
two different things, though. This is the casualty insurance. If a hurricane comes in and knocks down the building, okay,
The chances of
then
that
that is our
happening are rare.
casualty insurance,
I
where we have to
understand.
reduce.
Poured concrete.
But if a roof, just like if we change the language, that doesn't mean that you've got a claim because the roof was leaking and messed up your house. That still is the association's
Yeah, it's
responsibility.
uncovered. Yeah,
That's not.
Including the
Yeah,
appliances
yeah,
and.
right, all
As
the
long as
original
they're
stuff.
original.
To make
Right.
it whole.
If it's something, it's because our roof or the water backed up from the sewer or whatever, then that person is still
may I
covered.
say-
It's not,
something
Larry,
quickly?
it's not as long as it's original.
That's right,
It's
that's
only
right.
what,
It says like original.
yes, but you can't replace
Like-
anything as the original.
No, just, right, it's just
Original,
there.
original grade.
Right, you're gonna, whatever
Right.
is the
Right,
software,
exactly.
the insurance company,
Right,
all insurance companies
Right.
use the same software.
right,
That tells you, this is how
Right.
much, a replacement of
Right.
a
right,
So,
right,
stove or whatever it may
Right.
be. Because
Right.
when we had our flood,
Right.
I learned all of this.
right,
I learned it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all learned,
right.
yeah.
By fire, by fire.
From Maria. yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So the bottom line is, we still are gonna reduce, we can reduce that line item. So-
Yes, but
We can reduce that line item. Wait a second. Let me see what
So
it
it's
says.
115,000 less than Terry's quote, you said.
Yes.
Michelle, you said that other documents don't include that, other communities like
Sand-
ours don't include.
Sandalwood doesn't have it.
The original document.
Yeah, that's what.
Because a lot of
that,
these
you know,
communities-
I haven't seen their original documents, but that Terry and Jay both cited a number of communities
Sandalwood doesn't have a good
that
property.
don't have it. I don't think, I was in Sandalwood Lakes North, and it wasn't in my documents there.
Interesting.
You know, and that's what I
Because
thought,
it's
and that's what I
supposed
argued,
they
I
should
said
be
they were all,
all the same.
they were all written by the same
You would
people.
think that the
Shannon,
concepts
he wrote the whole
were all the
thing.
same.
But,
This is the
okay.
only
Michelle,
community
we-
that I know of that's an
Michelle.
HOA, that the documents are written to the condo guidelines.
Yes, that's a fact,
That's the only one that I know of.
which is a pain in the ass.
I've been 8 years working in the
Industry.
condo and HOA,
Okay.
and your docs read exactly
Like a condo
a condo
association.
association.
Okay.
One note, if we increase on $30,000, it's $57 per month we add to
But
it.
wait a
It,
second,
it means we need to reduce our insurance.
well,
We must reduce,
Yes.
because how we can make,
first, but, you know, are you gonna save $50,000 and put yourself on the hook for millions?
No, it's underground.
And that's basically the,
Yeah.
you know, the bottom line. And we, you know,
Well, it's a
we can,
crapshoot.
well,
You know, it's like Russian roulette.
right. I would suggest, maybe we can even just go somewhere in the middle here. Maybe 785 is too much. You know, maybe 700 or something, which is still gonna reduce it some. We still have to go with Terry for the general liability.
Thank you.
And for the D&O, or no, for the general liability and the umbrella. We still have to go with Terry for both of those because the companies that Jay was using were astronomical because we have that loss and that lawsuit.
The
Not
claim.
Jay.
And that lawsuit
Okay.
should come off in March.
Jay's our new guy. that we want.
Right.
Right. his
Jay-
quote.
Jay's quotes,
quote.
because of that, because of the lawsuit, couldn't find anybody that was willing to write a
Oh,
policy.
Right. But
for
we have
us.
to get that closed, and what's the outcome of that?
Well, they sent a huge
Status.
status report along, and it sounds as if, bottom line, this woman
Is that
fell
what,
2 years ago.
$400,000
She
claims?
hurt her knee. She fell. She hurt her knee. She had surgery on the knee. The surgeon screwed up. So now it's our fault that the surgeon screwed up, and she's going to sue the surgeon too. But then she had to have another surgery, and she's still not right. So
How
you
could
know,
she sue us and the surgeon concurrently?
Yeah.
well, she's probably going to.
We settled our claim.
Well, I don't.
with her.
It's, no,
yeah.
it's
Well,
still-
there was a
it's
certain
still-
amount
still
held
open.
back. There's
still
like
open.
89,000 more she could get from us.
Over the 400?
Right.
For her medical expenses that are
Get
ongoing.
that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I mean,
And that was signed off without our lawyers, without our signature?
We have no say in it.
yeah, it's just the insurance.
That's what I'd like to know. That was the question I was waiting to ask about insurance. How do we know what's in our policies telling us what we're obligations are? I don't like anybody having an obligation to sell my soul out without me knowing about it.
That's true of any insurance company.
Yeah.
I understand that they have a right to settle, and they can settle for
And
their
they
I'm
don't
with
have to
you.
tell us
I'm
anything.
Now, they said, and I hate throwing Joyce under the bus,
Go ahead.
but the insurance company said that Joyce was kept apprised of what was going on and that, but we just never heard
That's
about it.
not surprising. But,
Yeah, it's that one.
But we can still go with Jay and the new company, change the value, and still get rid of Citizens.
Oh yeah, we're not going with Citizens in any case.
No.
Terry, even the company that Terry, for the property insurance, the company that Terry is using and the company that Jay is using are both the same company.
Art sale, right?
That's
Coastal.
their,
Oh,
their,
they have a business
it's,
card.
it's the,
Still,
yeah,
I'd like to go with
and it's not Citizens.
Jay,
And there's,
just because for the mere fact that
Right.
Terry's kind of dropped the ball.
what I would like to do, can I make a motion? Because we do have to decide. I would like to make a motion that we go with Jay for the property insurance, for the,
Casualty.
sorry, a second, we go with Jay
For
for the
casualty.
commercial property, all right?
General liability.
and then Terry, we give Terry the general liability, okay? Now, in
the DNO.
in Jay's quote, his D&O insurance is included in his original $253,000 quote, which I thought was kind of cool. So let me find his, I'm sure it's in here.
So why would it need to be split up?
Well, the only reason, thank you. The only reason it needs to be split up is because Jay doesn't carry. See, now look at, I mean, he's got the D&O here, the D&O, well, either here or here, depends on what our deductible is going to be. I figured we would go with a $250,000 or $225. That's late. $2,500 deductible.
You're putting too many zeros there.
I know, it's been a long 2 days, I'll tell you. Okay, $2,500 deductible, and he includes the directors and officers' liability. And I mean, look at just the difference between, he's saying officers and liability is $2,600. Terry's quoting it at $14,000.
Right. Yeah, I know.
You know, it's a big
Have you
difference.
asked Terry why his is high and where you're getting another quote for much less?
It's the same company.
Well, I don't know about the D&O if it's the same company, but the general property.
Uh-huh.
But obviously, we're going to ask all these things before we sign anything on the dotted line. But he did explain that there was a lot of stuff in our original policy that we didn't need.
Right.
Just as a question, the D&O, do we know specifically what that amount is just for the D&O insurance and
He
what the
told
total?
us that, didn't he, that night?
What our
I've got a pointed reason for this.
Hold on, let me go back and look.
well, it was 2,600 for Jay's.
Directors and officers.
Terry
$2,500.
Oh, okay.
Right,
Terry
right.
has us paying $14,000.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been having this. So I mean, I just feel, and I gotta say this. I feel that for someone that's been in the insurance business as long as Terry, he hasn't been really very proactive.
No.
He hasn't come to the table about really anything. And I'll say that last year I spent a lot of time talking to him before we renewed our policy. Of course, he was like the only game in town. But I spent a lot of time talking to him, and not once did he ever mention that lawsuit.
But don't forget, Tennyson was running our place for a couple of years, and that's where it fell through the cracks.
But I mean, still, Terry's our insurance agent. He should have known that suit was going on, and by that time, he should have at least made us aware that, number one, that it was still open, and number two, that nobody had done anything. I mean, so call the
But we
frickin'
didn't
attorney.
have it for 2 years, 3 years. We didn't have 7 people working on this and talking about it. We had just Tennyson.
Well, my point is, last year before we renewed, I talked to
So
Terry.
Sue was
He
Tennyson
didn't mention
for-
anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, let's sue.
you know.
Yeah, let's sue Tennyson for errors and
right.
omissions.
You can't,
I
he
love
has-
that.
So in any event,
Where does insurance company come?
Love it.
I would like to make a motion that we go with Terry for the general liability and the umbrella policy. And that the other policies, the D&O, the property, and whatever else there is.
Commercial property insurance
Right.
and the D&O.
That
We go with Jay.
that we go with Jay for those.
Are we eligible to, in 2 months when that policy goes?
That's what I was just
to
going to say. And that when it is resolved, this lawsuit is resolved, that we go ahead and drop the policy and renew and get another policy at a much, they're paying like $15,000 or something like that.
It could go on forever.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
Wait a minute, I'm
thing
gonna
is-
second
go
the
ahead.
motion so we can get the motion
Okay,
off
go
the
ahead.
table.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
This is what makes me
Okay.
crazy trying to go back and do
Okay, thank you.
minutes.
Okay.
Right.
Second
Okay.
motion, there's a motion on the floor.
All right, so Well, Rebecca second,
Seconded.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, motion
Aye.
passes.
Aye, okay.
When we will do amendment to have better
Well,
times?
and then again, I think that is one of the first things that we need to start working on is the language in that amendment. And I will
Right.
talk to Jay and the property appraiser. That's another, I'd like to make another motion.
Motion,
I
yeah.
would like to make another motion.
All right, Michelle's
I'd like to
making a
make
motion.
I'd like another motion that we revisit the appraisal and get another appraisal with that language taken out, and go on record as attempting to change the language in the amendment. I don't know. how to-
No, wait, what do you mean by appraisal?
Well, what we have to do, we have to do two things. We have to
be adjusted.
it needs to-
Yeah,
well,
appraisal's
what
not
he's-
the word.
Yeah, we go, the appraiser, I called the appraiser, what do you charge us to do the appraisal? Like $2,000 or something like that?
Are we talking about modifying
about-
our governing document?
No, not yet.
We're
I'm
gonna
talking about
appraise
two different
Well,
things.
that's what I want
Okay,
clarification
we're talking about
on.
two different
Because
things.
it's confusing.
Okay, well, if everyone's quiet, I will. Two different things. First, we have to talk to the appraiser, the original appraiser, and have him, not adjust, I forget the word he used, but basically he revisits the appraisal.
Amend.
Thank you, and he takes that language out that says that we are responsible for the stove, the refrigerator. Basically, he unchecks the boxes. And then he gives us another figure about what our buildings are worth. And then we can attempt to change our amendments and take that language out and get the lower interest rate or the lower premium. Once we might even be able to get the lower premium just having it in the works. I don't know that for sure yet, but he said that is also a possibility. Because it just needs to be defensible. If something happens, you can say, hey, we're working on this.
Right.
But it's also possible, because we are buildings, and some of them approaching 40 years old, that original owners, and I know many, I'm sure you do too, I'm concerned about real estate values decreasing when the realtors find out that if there's any kind of a situation, the units are no longer going to be restored. They're going to be just four bare walls.
I can
And-
guarantee you the realtors do
They
not.
don't have a clue.
I'm
Okay,
talking
I
about
second
that
this
the
motion.
values
Let's
will go
vote.
down.
Okay.
No,
not gonna go
the
down.
values
Okay,
won't
we got a
go down
motion
very
on, we have we can have discussion, but I don't think that the values would go down because a lot of these places, nobody has this in their
Exactly,
documents.
these $1 million condos over in Palm Beach
Right.
don't have it.
And I'll tell you another thing,
Okay.
if
Will
you told
not
them,
devalue the property.
if you told them their assessment would go, their
Potential client.
monthly fee would go down $10 a month, they'd all be for it.
Right. And not only that, if we pass this, then it'll be part of their package when they sign with CAMS that there'll be a letter recommending they have interior contents insurance.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
I mean,
isn't
that's,
that a requirement when you get a mortgage?
No, if you don't have a mortgage, you don't have to have interior insurance. When your
I
mortgage
said
is
if you
paid.
don't, I said if you have a mortgage.
Oh, mortgage is mandatory,
No,
yes.
it's not.
It's not
No, it
mandatory.
isn't.
I thought it was
Some
mandatory you had to have
Some
basic
banks-
insurance.
They want
If you have a
HOA.
mortgage, the bank wants you to have
Yes,
insurance.
they're saying no, and I'm
It's
saying
not
yes.
mandatory. They
Okay,
want
so
you, they will
Natalia
highly
seconded
recommend,
that.
but it's not
Yeah, I'm
mandatory.
second and let vote everybody.
they
Okay.
get a
Never
copy
had
of our documents and they know that it's covered in
Just-
our documents.
right.
If we change it, then that will be a different story. That's why we have to notify them.
Just for giggles, so I want you to know, at $380,000, which was what we were basically paying, okay? And remember, on top of that, we also have to finance this, so add another $7,000 to $10,000 on there, right? For $380,000, each person pays per month $60.43. If you told them that their thing was going down to 300, or it could even be less. Maybe let's say we'll say 300 to be fair. Okay, now we're talking $47. So that was, what did I say, 60,
$20?
66? Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
It's
So,
good, yeah.
so, you know, that's substantial.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay, so-
let me just say,
okay.
you have a motion on the table.
Okay.
We're getting.
The motion, Natalia seconded
I
it.
know, but.
Natalia, no, you're good, Becky, fine. Natalia seconded the motion. Okay, so the motion is that we're gonna redo the appraisal, and that we're gonna look into changing the language in the documents so that we can decrease
The motion
our,
Yeah,
to use insurance agents.
That was.
So
the
we already
first
did
one.
that.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
we did
right.
that.
this is the second motion.
yeah, with the program.
Hear any second,
It's the second
Second.
motion.
Yeah, that
I'm
one, you
abstaining.
voted for it.
Can I have a vote? All in favor?
I saw you.
All
For
in
the
favor?
first one,
He
yes.
voted for the first one.
Yes, he
Okay.
did. We
Not
haven't
the
voted on
second
this.
All right,
Okay.
all right, all right.
Okay, now Larry's getting a headache. Okay, so the motion was to, Natalia seconded it, the motion was to adjust the appraisal and then to look into putting the different language in so that we can lower our
We're gonna
premiums.
tell them we're doing
She
that.
seconded, yeah. You seconded your,
No.
okay,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nay,
okay. Just Mary Lou
I don't
did
have
it.
enough information.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't
that's
vote
okay.
yes
It's
on
a
the
safe
second.
position.
Okay,
No,
that's
I
okay.
voted yes on the first
All
one,
right,
and no on the
so-
second one. My decision.
I am
Absolutely.
going to,
I want more
I'm gonna do
information.
this, I'm gonna make an executive decision here, all right? I am going to reduce the insurance down to 340,000 from
That's what it is.
380.
That's what it is now.
That's what it is now. 340,
No,
Terry's
well, last
quote.
year,
No,
yeah, Terry's
we
quote.
have it in the
Last year, we
Proposed
had
budget
300,
340 right now.
right.
I thought we was getting down to 301.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
Well, if I put it in there at 301, no, because I can't guarantee you
No,
that
that's-
that is
that's-
what, that's why I said I can't guarantee you, unless you decide, okay, you want to make another motion, we can put it at 301, all right? If we decide not to adjust the value of the buildings, you know, or if we decide to adjust the value of the building down to 670, which is kind of risky.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
Now, that doesn't mean we're not gonna, that doesn't mean we can't do that,
Right.
okay? But if we do it tonight, if I put this budget in here at 301 tonight, and we adopt it, then we could end up being $39,000
Well, what if you
over
split-
budget.
What if you
Well,
split the difference?
That's
But
what I was
We
gonna
could
say.
do that,
But
I'll do that.
My understanding
320.
was that if we devalue the building, it's only going to affect the interior contents. That's all he would be removing.
Right. So,
The building would still have enough money to rebuild the buildings, just not
Yes.
redo the carpet, the linoleum, the appliances.
right, I see what you're saying.
When
So-
you- when
So you're
when
talking
you
about the
reduce, because, yeah.
structure versus the interior.
Unpleasant, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand that.
This is
It's
part of the
building.
casualty insurance?
Yeah.
Michelle,
Yeah.
each building, taking a unit, the fourplex, interior-wise, what is the insured value that we're going to affect?
Right. Well, I'm gonna, let's see.
Very good question.
I got a question.
Here it is, hold on.
I have 5 minutes.
Okay. What he's saying.
All right, maybe.
Shoot.
So if we get like,
My point is, I mean,
No.
there's,
no, while she's doing it,
Too many
Yeah.
variables to have an exact number right this minute.
well,
Well, a ballpark.
right, well, that's,
Ballpark, and just-
well,
All right, I think here's what we need to do. We need to leave it at the 340,
Yes.
like Michelle suggested.
No.
And then we can always have a surplus, if we can get it reduced.
right.
but my question is
So
if
it's
we
going
have
from 380 to
some
340.
sort of catastrophe and the buildings are completely knocked down, like has happened in other states. So you're saying that because out of no fault of anyone, it's just the act of God, the building completely goes away, and you guys, the association is only responsible for the building, and then the homeowner has to pay for the insides.
Right.
Yes.
But now
Well,
it's
the,
in our
well, the
documents.
homeowner pay, the homeowner is still gonna pay for the policy is
The
still gonna cover
fixtures.
the inside.
It's the
still gonna put up the walls and the doors.
No, I get all of that.
But it's not gonna put in the cabinets, and it's not gonna put in the.
Commodes and the sink and-
Right, right.
Do you know how much
Gonna
that
pay it?
costs?
Who was gonna
Yeah,
pay
that's
Obviously,
the
I went
point.
through this.
We're gonna have to make a
51,000.
policy to cover that.
That was just
So maybe
51 grand, and I
100,000
had nothing
instead of
really high
40,000.
end that I did.
Well then,
And
in
I
light,
sit
in light of this,
That's why I'm
then-
asking the
Okay,
question.
That's why I voted
in light
no.
of this, I mean, we can also say, leave it as it is and just pay the 340.
Make everybody happy.
You know, that's fine. I mean, that's
That
you
covers
know,
everything, everybody.
that's a complete, you know, valuation, and it's $340,000.
Doesn't it say something in our documents about an act of God? It was
Yes.
something, I remember the verbiage.
It's only
of it.
structural insurance we have. I do not know where
First
you
of all,
took
our
at
building
this.
getting knocked down, we have a highly superior construction.
That's
Well,
right.
yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that's not,
so
I
we
don't, I'm
can't
not
get any
worried
better
about it.
than the
Exactly,
rating
yeah.
we got. So I'm not worried about the.
I'm not worried, I'm just trying to figure out how this
Right.
works.
Right.
I don't, you know,
Well,
I
and I- you
realize
know,
that there's a chance
I've got the
that
guy.
happens.
I've got to find the.
I don't
Well,
wanna
just
waste
as an aside, Larry, there was a commercial today, a lawyer on television, talking about water damage. Where insurance companies have up to $10,000
At the most.
maximum,
So let's just
supposedly
do it, leave it
for
at the 340 and move
water
on.
damage.
That's what.
okay?
That's
Let's
what.
just
You
do
know.
it.
That's what I was saying.
This attorney
Because, you know, you
says,
can also-
send me your signature,
You can
and
always-
I
you can always
guarantee you
drop the
will get you your
policy
money
and
because
get it
that's
back.
what.
You know,
But
I mean,
I
Okay.
cannot, listen.
Because you made a
You
point,
want
somebody said we have a building that has a
Here.
pipe that's
You
under
see
it,
trash
that
recycling. It
is
means it's
faulty and leaking.
$57
a main
to
pipe.
each
Okay.
household. It's added
It's not
to our, how you.
It's not done,
manage
done.
it.
No, it's not going to
I'll
add
jot that
57.
guy's name
It's,
down,
it's
because
going to
here,
add whatever
listen,
the increase is.
We
Oh,
gotta
you
get
will
this
see.
done. We're gonna just leave it at 340, and we can always, like I say, have a surplus. Right. All right, we're making a
So,
motion.
make a motion.
We're making a motion. We're gonna leave it at the 340, and if we make adjustments later, we'll have a surplus.
Subject to
Right.
more information.
Later when? Next year or later when? You think we
Oh,
make adjustment?
ASAP.
Well, as soon as we,
It's not gonna
Soon as
affect the
we find
monthly
out, right,
fees,
yeah, right.
it'll just,
Well, it does.
Yes, it does. We were gonna
no,
lower
I'm
it.
saying.
we're
if
putting
we
the cart
agree on
ahead
it
of the
now,
horse
we're
anyhow,
gonna
because we
agree
don't
on
even
it.
have the First Amendment approved.
Okay, let me
just trying to
make everybody.
understand.
Let me make everybody. I'm
As
gonna
I said, we don't have
reduce.
enough information.
I'm
That's why I
gonna
voted no.
reduce the
That's right.
We have to make a
amount
decision.
I'm gonna reduce the amount of
Like if you
the
drop
largest,
320,
Randy. I'm gonna
knock it down
reduce,
to $4.
all right, I'm not talking anymore.
Go ahead, you're
Come on, come on.
gonna reduce what?
We got
I
4
know,
minutes.
I know, well, I can't think now, you guys are gonna,
Hey, he can wait because they screwed us up with the double booking.
well, not just that,
That's
but
not
he's,
his fault, though.
No, but
he's
Set up.
good, he's all right. All right, so, okay, I reduced that, where's the water, not water, trash and recycling, that. Ouch. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do there? I'm gonna make that 3.
Let's leave it at the 340.
Wait a second.
Well, we fully anticipate to try and change things to get to that 301,000, right?
Well, we have to get the documents changed first, and then we can work
I'm
on
saying
it.
that
Right.
we're planning on it and pursuing
Right.
that, correct?
Right.
Yes, we are.
So, I was saying split the difference of the 300 and the 340 to 320.
Right.
And you got yourself kind of covered in a way.
Well, I
because
put
we
it-
we
right.
plan on pursuing it.
Right.
And then if we don't get it the way we want it, well, at least we still have budgeted for 320.
Well, I
And
guess-
that'll drop your monthly by $4, just doing that.
yeah,
But we're eating
What number are we trying to
$30,000
get at?
I don't know.
to trash.
as close to 340 as we can
340?
get. As It's close to 340.
I heard at the
Yeah.
beginning of the meeting it might be less than that, but I haven't heard.
$60 a month, a year, is not breaking anybody.
What?
$60 a year
It's
is
not
not breaking.
$60 a year.
$5
So it's
a month.
$4 we're talking about. If it's gonna be a $4.
No, I'm talking about 340 versus this original quote tonight.
Even $12 a month isn't going to break
$3.53.
anybody.
Well, no, I said, but I said, if
340
nothing,
is already
hey, let me tell
40,000
you,
less than last year.
well,
Say that again?
yeah.
340 is
Yeah.
already 40,000 less than
Yeah.
last year.
My point is, if you're looking to,
No,
if
340
you,
a
if you're
month,
looking to
you
keep
pay
the
me.
budget at 340, I think that that's very unrealistic.
Maintenance a month.
I do too.
I think it's very, it's in light, I'm sorry, the water went up $12 this year.
Right.
So even if we just added the water in there and nothing else changed, you're talking, 352. I mean,
Okay, yeah.
I mean, and when your phone bill goes up, do you call them up and tell them you're not paying it? When your cable goes up, and when this happens,
Okay.
Come on.
so I mean, I'm trying to get this.
Michelle, can we reasonably get it to somewhere between 340 and 350? Is
No.
that possible?
No. And
Well, I
think
mean, you have 353 here, so I'm wondering, why
right. No,
can't we
I
go
mean,
to
well,
350?
that was before I changed a couple things too, because I had to add
So
20,000
we
back
can't do
in.
350.
I took out. I mean, we can just not fund the reserves and let somebody else worry about it.
No,
You know
no.
what I mean? No, I'm being facetious.
But-
I mean, that's what.
The 353 number, is that a good number for you to work at?
I mean, right now things have changed a little bit. I'm going to have to play with it. I could probably get it down at this point to 354.
354?
I could probably get it
So
down to
that's up from
354.
That's up from-
353?
That's up from
Yeah, but that's real,
353 to
Because
$357.
I added $20,000 into the
Trash.
into the trash thing because.
Well,
but I'll take back out. So we'll just be over.
Well, did we cut back on some of the things like lighting and some of the things?
There really wasn't much to cut back.
I thought there was,
there's a
since
lot
we have all
lighting
new
done
lights.
at the end of the year.
We have all
Well,
new
cut it
lights.
down
I
to
put it down at
5,000.
5,000.
Oh, okay.
How
All right.
much does
Look at it. It
a
tells
light
you
bulb
right there.
Well,
cost?
see, this is where
Yeah.
I
No, but we're
That's
not
reasonable.
talking
But it
about
says
that.
right here what's the
I
difference.
mean,
You
there are
guys-
some things
I
that you can't
understand
change.
that. I understand that,
Well,
but
there's,
we've
see,
made
there's things that can be
modifications.
changed overall.
Okay.
Not
But
the lighting, what
you
you're
like-
asking about, lighting.
That's just one I'm asking.
To your
about.
point
yeah.
of, we can't solve problems tonight.
Right, exactly.
But-
Right.
We're gonna have to work
but
on
in a-
getting water
but in a
under control.
sense, these are things that bug me, that I think we can change. And we
Okay.
can actually, if we were to actually do what I'm about to suggest, that you can eliminate some of these line items.
Okay.
Okay,
Like-
what is it?
you
Like
know,
what?
Well, let him tell us.
The things that bug me are, like, all right, building maintenance and repair, we got $30,000, right? Fence repairs, $5,000. Pressure cleaning hard surfaces, $20,000.
Can I ask about that one real quick?
All those things that are, you can add those together, and in my opinion, that's something our maintenance man should be doing.
The maintenance men are
Absolutely.
doing the
They are
pressure
doing
cleaning.
No, we spent
No, no, no,
over
no, wait.
20,000.
That was last year because we had
This
one
year.
guy. Now we got two.
Right.
But this
Well,
year,
full-time and
you
part-time.
laid out a fortune
I'm
for
still
power
trying to-
washing the community.
What are you talking about? A fortune? It was the cheapest this
It was the
association
cheapest
And the
ever paid.
lousiest job?
Okay. Let's
last
look
year's
at
job.
this.
Job.
Okay, Randy's got the floor.
Okay, Randy, sorry, I apologize, I'm sorry.
Randy's got the
Died
floor.
made you president.
Give me that gavel.
Doesn't make sense.
Well,
You trying to tell me
you said
something?
you didn't
Guys,
feel well.
let's talk one person
Okay.
talking. Listen.
All right, Randy, go ahead.
I mean,
I
I
thought
could
we
reduce.
wasn't, listen, we're not gonna solve this in this meeting. Let's get this done before we move on
Okay.
and talk about what we're gonna cut.
Okay, I'm gonna reduce the building maintenance back to $15,000. All right, I'm gonna reduce that to $15,000. Okay, now I'm at $351.80. All right,
Okay.
I am going to.
I guess my point was I was trying to make is that we've got allocated costs, budgeted costs of, say, pressure cleaning hard surfaces of $20,000. We have a maintenance man that we pay hourly, that should be his job. So where does $20,000?
Because last
Gotta come
year,
from.
we had.
I know we
Right,
paid
right,
$17,000
right. But
for
also-
pressure
wait,
cleaning,
right.
and then our maintenance guy is pressure cleaning all those hard surfaces a week after we spent
Exactly.
$17,000.
Yeah.
Because,
Well,
because
that
it's
would be-
maintenance and it's.
Well, there's a
needs
good
to
reason
work
for
out.
that,
done in
because
the wrong
these
month.
trees continually make messes.
I understand.
No, no,
I'm
but
not-
the work was done in the wrong
Please,
month.
one person.
The work was done in the wrong month. That's why we had,
I understand why, but what I don't understand is that
why are we doing
a
it again?
maintenance guy could be doing a lot of these things that we're allocating money for.
Right.
And I don't understand.
Right, but you know what, I'm
why
gonna tell you
it should
another,
be paid
I'm gonna
for.
say another thing, that I've never heard so many people, it's, if you clean, people are upset, if you don't clean, people are upset. If Edva does it, they're upset, if he doesn't do it, they're upset. Everybody's telling everybody else, like, for instance, when Edva was trying to pressure clean, it wasn't getting done fast enough. Well, Edva had all these other things to do, so just, it seems to me like sometimes, we just do need to spend the money to get some stuff done. So, all at once, and we don't always have the resources to do it.
Plus, we have
Yes.
a part-time guy he's still working on that 3 days a week,
Okay, so
right?
then let's cut this 20 to 10,000 for power washing.
See, my point is that, like,
Is that
building,
fair?
repair, maintenance, $30,000. So, in other words, we're paying an outside person,
And if we
we're
needed
paying an outside vendor, like, say, Jeff, for example, J&C Service, to do things that I think our maintenance
Yes.
person should be doing.
Absolutely.
Well, okay,
So
point
that's
taken,
money
point
that-
Well,
taken.
then we're gonna
Okay.
have to hire a maintenance person.
Thank you
okay?
very much.
And we're gonna pay a lot more money for that maintenance
No.
guy.
Right, but then subtract all the money that we're putting out.
Well, wait a
I
second.
have a
Wait,
lot
let
of
me say
solutions.
this.
I know we can't
Well,
solve it tonight,
okay,
but that's
okay. Well,
what
we
I'm
can
trying to
work
put
on that.
together.
If we take
Three
that
or
down
four
to
lines.
The only reason I put that at $30,000 was to include the cost of painting the railings,
Yeah,
which
right.
need to be repainted,
Definitely.
and cleaning the mansards. That's the only reason I put that to $30,000, but I'll just go ahead, I'll put it at 15 and we'll figure something out.
Well, if you
We'll
take
get,
the power washing down to 10, cut that in half, what would that save
Well, the
us?
Mansards, first of all,
That comes out of
Edva
operating.
can't do the Mansards.
No.
They can't, and he can't paint the balconies, so,
Anyway, and nobody's gonna charge us $10,000 to do the Mansards.
No, we're
It's
talking
gonna
power
be-
washing the streets.
Yes, power
The streets,
washing.
no, the streets we're talking about, that Ed.
You were meant-
No, I was
Somebody
talking about the
mentioned
mansard.
just
I
now.
put,
Oh, no, I'm talking about the
I put
20,000.
I put $30,000 into the maintenance repair. Again, they're arbitrary numbers. I'm not married to them, but you got the railings, you got the mansards, and then you got whatever problems occur at the buildings
The
or
railings,
whatever.
in my opinion, as I agree with Randall, can be done by the maintenance guy.
Every
That's-
railing on every townhouse.
no.
No, you're all talking about having them do the striping, and that's
Well, I
double
would.
the
That
parking.
wouldn't be my
We
choice.
need a licensed painter to paint our
Oh my
balcony
God.
railing.
Oh, really?
Forgot
'Cause I'm
about
not
licenses.
licensed and I do my
Okay.
own
I'm
railing.
just- You know what?
Yeah, exactly. Who needed license?
I'm just gonna, it doesn't matter to me at this point. Let's just make it. That's just right now. I'm at 351.
Can we cut on coupons?
No change, just
Coupons?
make it a nice
Make it
round
350.
number.
That's what I'm trying to do.
352,
350.
Cut on coupons because they
It's not, it's not easy, guys. You gotta really look.
Take the number you like is easy.
$10 a month times 12 months.
And I'll agree with you. For a couple of bucks.
Okay, well, you know what I'm gonna, let's see. Oh, no, I already did. Let's see what happens if I like this.
Right. Times 520.
We can send it to just a piece of paper to people when
Change it.
Yeah, so without sending
Yeah,
coupons.
times 524.
Do you use coupons?
Let's
You
see.
know, we're arguing about this, and I'm thinking, what are we gonna do when we have a big number like about 250,000 or 400,000?
So,
$5 it'll cost you for a coupon book.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's see.
Michelle, if you take it to 250,
350.
350,
I'm not taking it to 350. It'll be 351.
Becky, give
It'll
me
be 351. And does anybody, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make
Yes,
a motion
I make
that
a-
we make the budgeted amount
All right.
I'm not gonna quibble over
$351.
no, that's $574 times 12
But Becky say very good idea about coupon.
No, it's $12.
Michelle,
Wait,
Michelle.
we're in the middle of a motion.
No, okay, but why
Why
you
did
don't
it-
say? It's
There's
very
a
good
motion on
idea.
the table.
It doesn't matter.
Let's hear the motion.
All right, let's motion that the monthly maintenance be allotted to from 2019 at $351.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes, has any discussions? Anybody want to discuss that, 351?
I'm not
Okay.
gonna.
I got it at
Doesn't get my
351.
Now, go ahead.
Okay, all in
Alright.
favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I did not vote.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, but you're supposed to go around the room, not
Okay,
just say
hold on.
aye as a general
Oh,
crowd.
God, Mary Lou, please.
Thank you for schooling us again tonight.
No, I'm sorry, dear.
I don't know
read
how
the
to do without you.
documents.
I make a motion, we take a roll call on the motion.
I make a
Natalia?
motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Wait a minute.
I voted no for 351.
Okay, hold on.
No,
I'm-
that's another.
I'm not, I didn't get to you yet, Natalia.
Yes, okay, 51. It's
Me,
okay.
yes.
They cannot
Yes.
reduce.
Yes.
what they can
Yes.
No.
And no.
Okay, so we have 2 no's.
Before
Thank you for
uh,
speaking up, everyone. I appreciate the 2 no's.
Mary,
Okay.
before you adjourn the meeting, I have a quick question that
And we-
doesn't even pertain
And we
to
have a
this.
guest. Did he have anything that you wanted?
Yeah, I did.
But is it to the budget?
Yeah, I think you guys made a huge mistake, to be honest with you.
Wow!
Why were you so
In terms of-
quiet?
Well, because you guys kept talking, I didn't know when you were supposed to talk in, but I'm not sure if you're aware, but if you apply for a house in this type of community, in order to get an FHA loan, which is the standard loan that millennials use to buy houses, 10% of your income as an association has to go into reserves. And right now you're short on that. And so if you continue with that path, no one would be able to take out an FHA-backed loan in order to buy a house next year. It's an actual rule in the book. I don't know if you guys read
Well,
it.
do you know that we
Which
have
book?
$650,000?
I know you guys couldn't do it this year. This year no one could, but next year no one can't currently even with your revised.
So this year we funded the reserves, this
No,
year.
no,
No, no,
he's
no,
talking
not the-
about
not
getting
the-
a loan.
You're
Oh.
talking about a loan. In order to get an FHA, which is a federal loan, which a lot of younger folks use, in order to get that, 10% of your approved budget annually, which is the income coming in, must be allocated, a minimum of it, to your reserves.
What percentage are we at?
It's right below. You're like at least at the numbers which you start at, say you're $8,000 short.
Well, see, now it's funny because I had to reduce those to
Which
make
is-
everybody happy to put
Right,
the.
and that was
to put the-
that was
you
the
know?
first point I was going to make, and that's because you guys are at least 50% owner occupied. If your reserves continue, if you get below the 50% number because no one can qualify for an FHA loan next year, that number actually doubles.
What do you mean?
Can we fix it right now?
So as long as your community is a minimum of 50% owner occupied,
Right.
you need to have 10% of your income going into the HOA going to reserves. If the number falls below 50%,
Right.
then the reserve percentage must be 20%. So it would double.
Where do you get that?
You can read the
Well,
FHA
that's
manual.
in the FHA, but it's not in our document.
No, it's not in our documents, this
Right.
is
Well, I see what you're
FHA.
You know, it's just like the same
But
thing. If the banks
I'm-
find out that we have a sort of higher
Right.
percentage of
Right.
rentals,
Right.
they're not going to give people mortgages.
We don't
Right.
want
Right.
Oh, and that's a known fact.
Yeah.
That,
Well,
that's
I'm
a
just,
known
I'm just
fact.
going from a
There's a
component
lot
of
of
numbers.
No, I
There
mean,
is-
that's a real, it's a really good point,
There's-
and again,
there's a lot
but
of numbers.
there's,
60%.
Right.
there's no way, if we were right now
No.
to fund our reserves to the point that you're saying, then your bank wouldn't give you money because our assessments would be so high that
Right.
you couldn't qualify either. So,
Yeah, that's 200,000 a year.
Is there-
But,
What else
but
did you wanna
the reserve,
discuss?
the amount of money that you actually use as an HOA is actually a adjustable number in the FHA manual. You cannot adjust the reserve number. They have no leniency on that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
don't
but
care
this
about
is just
that.
the FHA
Do we
speaking,
care?
this is
Anyway.
not.
oh no, right,
And he's
right.
got some other things.
In any case, there are other issues with the budget that were very interesting. So the website 960, I'm curious as to which website that actually goes to.
That's actually.
Because Canvas maintains the website, so it would not.
I'll
Yeah,
answer
that's
that
part
for
of,
you.
yeah.
Let him
Can't
ask,
say
Randall's
this.
answering.
All that is they're charging us for TOPS, the profit management company software. That's all that is. It's
Okay.
It's their
$10 a
fee,
month
their fee.
for them charging us to use their property management software, which is
Okay.
they use
It's too
TOPS.
expensive, really.
Okay.
They make money on that.
Yeah,
I've been
Right.
arguing about that for
I
quite
do
a while.
too.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah, and
not.
Natalia has too.
Because
Okay.
they only have to pay X amount of dollars. They pay like $400 a month,
They make a profit on it.
Right.
$600 a month.
I mean, I realize I don't want to be here all night, even though we had
Can we
budget,
fix
because,
it?
yeah.
Well, we're gonna get kicked
So,
out.
okay, you're right. So, okay, question was about the culvert reserves. We had met last month, you all had passed the inspection for the culvert reserves.
Right.
Do we know if any of the results have come back from that?
No,
We
we
haven't
haven't
had it done
It
yet.
hasn't been
Test
done
isn't
yet.
being done till the first week of December.
Okay, all right, that takes care of that one. And then the last one I guess I'll bring up because that's why we're here is the lawyer fee are really high, and
Exactly.
which someone also mentioned. And in my opinion, the board should really consider, based on both the cost and also the quality of the legal representation.
A new law firm.
I would recommend a new law firm strongly.
Well,
Yeah.
we've wanted that
We're
for a
working on
while.
We've been wanting that since the board started.
Well,
It's
we're
only
working
changed.
on it.
We'll talk about
I have a
this.
question.
Sure.
Why don't you come to any of the other meetings?
I've actually tried to come to your meetings.
But what?
A lot of them are on Thursday nights, which
They're
is
all
really,
on Thursday
yeah,
nights.
it's really hard. I tried coming to the last one, but I had the scheduling conflict.
Okay.
I came here on Tuesday.
He's
I've
been
shown
an
back
owner
here.
for a little over a year. I
Yeah, about a
You
year
work,
now.
you work
A year.
nights?
I work whenever I'm on call, 24/7.
Can you say about that letter, what you received?
Yeah. So it's not really a budget issue, but
Amendment.
it's related to the legal part, which is you guys had all emailed out these amendments thing, and one of them, there is a section A where it's the applicants or any intended occupant of a townhouse has been convicted, pled guilty, or pled no contest to a felony, which is, if anything, the most
There's only two though, isn't it, sex offenders?
right,
and-
but it says any with a felony, and that's a problem because the FHA has a law literally worded to prevent that exact type of thing from passing. If a lawyer actually looked at this and passed it, I mean, I would fire this
Where's the lawyer who did this?
I mean, the FHA in no way, in no uncertain terms, specifically mentioned this exact thing. While the Act does not prohibit housing buyers from appropriately considering criminal history when making housing decisions, arbitrary and overbroad criminal history-related bans are likely to lack sufficient justification. Thus, a discriminatory effect resulting from a policy or practice that denies housing to anyone with a prior arrest or any kind of criminal conviction cannot be justified, and therefore such a practice would violate the Fair Housing Act. Policies that exclude persons based on criminal history must be tailored to serve the housing provider's substantial, legitimate, non-discriminatory interest and must take into account such factors as the type of crime and length of time served since conviction. I mean, it's literally the FHA law is written to prevent that exact sentence from ever appearing in an amendment to any HOA guideline. And the concern would be is given the amount we're spending on legal advice and the number of lawsuits that the HOA seems
Well, you
to
don't have
have.
to sell us on the fact that
Right. I mean, it seems like this is just opening us up to
Association
a...
Council will be getting.
Right. I mean, this just seems like we're opening ourselves to even more.
Yeah.
We wanted to change them when we took office in
Yeah.
16,
Yeah.
and
Well, we can't take
unfortunately,
care of all of
it fell
things
through
at
the cracks.
FHA next
It fell through
Right.
the
Well, that's
cracks.
fair, but I mean, you can,
Can we put in
Are you
next
guys gonna go
agenda?
over this at the
Discuss.
next meeting?
Can we put an agenda
I don't want to.
discussing
Yeah,
next
before the owners
about
meeting.
new
I mean,
law
before
firm?
the annual
No,
meeting.
but we can put an agenda.
Yeah, I plan to
I
talk
already
to
have-
our
You
attorney
can make a
about that.
motion at any
Larry.
time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I
okay,
have a
I'm
lot of
making
questions
motion.
on
No,
this
it's not
as
tonight.
well.
I did too, Larry. Pam is suggesting that at our December meeting, because the January meeting we know is going to be purely what it is, but the December meeting, Pam is suggesting we really need to go over
This amendment.
the amendments, for all of us to discuss them again, based on what this gentleman has just told us, based on questions Pam has, questions others have. So I think,
Well, what would you think about having Rawson at our next meeting?
more money,
Take the money again.
more money.
Well, but, I don't hang anybody without them
No,
having
no,
a chance
no,
to
no.
defend
But
themselves.
you
You're
need
the
to
one
keep
who has
paying
a
money.
direct line to Ross, and
Yeah,
we're
well,
here at this meeting, if
yeah.
we discuss this.
Let's
then
talk
you
about
can
it.
go back to
Let's
that.
talk about it.
For the,
Larry, there was an e-blast that went out today about not putting anything on your fences.
oh
Once
yeah,
it's been,
which is not true,
What about
because we've
holiday
always
de-
put Christmas
Halos?
trees. Yeah.
What about holiday decorations?
Holiday decorations are permitted as long as you don't use nails, use clips. We don't want anything nailed to the fence.
Well, there's nails already in the fence.
Well,
That's how they put the fences together.
no, I'm talking about nails that rust all year long along the top, you just hang your lights on.
Well, then a new email blast should go out specifying that, because all it says on that, when you have a
Larry,
fixed fence,
Who
don't put
approved
anything on
Pam
it
sending
except-
out this email blast? Who
She
approved?
doesn't, she talks over everybody.
Who
Excuse me,
told
Mary
Pam?
Lou, I'm not not done.
Oh, I
I'm
thought
sorry.
you were finished.
We only got three.
Larry, did email blast go out?
You didn't even get
Letting
to write.
people know?
No, what, I instructed him to send an email blast out today regarding not, if you have anything other than a doorbell,
No, I get it.
button,
I saw it.
or
I read it.
And you were all welcome for all the
Unit
weeks I
number.
put in on this budget.
anything else like ADT signs or security signs, remove them and then don't put them back up.
I think it has to be a little more specific, and to include, now that it's in the middle of the Christmas season.
Well, people are putting their lights up, I see that.
I get that.
I didn't even notice. I didn't know. I just
can't
guess what? I put my lights on, sorry.
I know you did, and Bob's putting ours up now, but when you send something out like that, it makes people question
Yeah.
whether they're gonna get
I didn't even, I
a